What's up, Star Wars fans? I'm the Master of Movies Clay from the Hills Maniacs, and today I'm going to be bringing you my recasting of Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So for those of you that watched my previous one of this on Star Wars Day, May 4th, I did my recasting of the Phantom Menace. Basically, the rules are, for me, I took characters that had an impact on the plot, so the main characters, and then a few side characters that either impact the plot now or will be prominent later on in the Clone Wars or something, because I'll be recasting the entire series, including the animated ones for live action. Should they, were they to do it today, who I'd like to see, and you can't use anybody that was already in Star Wars in any way, voicing or on screen, in any of the Disney Plus series or any of the animated stuff or movies or whatever. No previous Star Wars actors, and then if I cast somebody, they will be the same person every time that character appears. So we'll go over basically the ones that appeared again from the Phantom Menace that are also in Attack of the Clones and who I put there. But if you didn't watch my Phantom Menace recasting, I recommend you go watch that, just to see who I put in these roles, so I don't have to go in depth as to why for these ones specifically, because I went into them in the last video. And again, this is just for fun. It's not to say that any actors didn't do a great job in the role that they were given, because the majority of these actors did phenomenal in Star Wars, especially the original trilogy. But anyways, so let's get into this then. So for Attack of the Clones, some of the prominent characters we see. The first one we're going to talk about again is Emperor Palpatine, or Chancellor Palpatine at this point. I did Ralph Fiennes. I went into it in the Phantom Menace, but basically I just think he'd be perfect as Palpatine. Mace Windu is another one from the Phantom Menace that I cast, and that was Idris Elba. And then Jar Jar Binks, everybody's favorite character. I cast Matthew Lillard as Jar Jar Binks. And then Newt Gunray comes back in Attack of the Clones, and in the Phantom Menace I cast Bill Murray as Newt Gunray, and you can go watch that and find out why. And then Padme Amidala, obviously an important character still. I cast her in the Phantom Menace, and I put Jenna Ortega as Padme Amidala. Shmi Skywalker comes back in this one. So obviously, she dies in this one, but I had Helena Bonham Carter as Shmi Skywalker. And then obviously you have the dynamic duo of R2-D2 and C-3PO. I will not be casting R2 because it can just be a robot. He doesn't really speak anyways. He just beeps and boops. So, but for C-3PO, I put Jim Carrey. I think he would do an amazing job bringing that character to life and giving it the voice and everything, and just making it his own character. Obi-Wan Kenobi returns in Attack of the Clones. I cast him in Phantom Menace, and I put Christian Bale as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Master Yoda, I put Danny DeVito. I think it would be fun just to hear him kind of trying to bring that Yoda voice to life. Alright, a couple more characters here that return are Governor Bibble, or C.O. Bibble. He's not as prominent in this one, had kind of a somewhat important role in Phantom Menace, but I put Ian McShane here. This is the last time that we see him, I think, unless he's in the Clone Wars at all. But he's the governor of Naboo. And then the second to last one that returns from the Phantom Menace is Watto, the Toydarian that owned Anakin and Shmi in Phantom Menace. I cast James Spader as Watto, doing his voice and stuff. I think James Spader would be fun hearing him, present Watto as who he is, and Watto now, not owning Anakin and maybe changing a little bit in his ways. I think James Spader would be amazing at portraying Watto. And then the last one that I cast in the Phantom Menace before we get into the Attack of the Clones ones that returned is Mas Amedda, the right-hand man to the Chancellor. Has an important role in the Clone Wars. He does a lot more there than he does in the movies. But I put Mahershala Ali as Mas Amedda. So we'll move into the new characters that are being cast, and again, they roll with like any children, so younglings and things like that. I won't cast. They can just put any young up and coming child actor in those roles and let them have a role, because it's hard to cast child actors like that and expect them to be able, especially like in Phantom Menace with Anakin, like it's kind of hard to put somebody in there because they haven't really had enough experience in films yet to be able to be like, oh yeah, I like him for this because he could do this role in another movie. So you can't really compare it to anything. And it worked out well with Harry Potter, casting 3 unknown actors as the main 3, and look where they ended up, So we'll leave the children as, just anybody they want to cast as a young newcomer in the acting industry, and maybe make this their first role or something. So we do need to cast Anakin Skywalker, and of course I didn't really necessarily go by age. I know he's supposed to be younger than Padme, and with Jenna Ortega being 19, 20 years old, it's kind of hard to find that, so you can just kind of make them believe it. I mean, I don't think Hayden Christensen was younger than Natalie Portman, but he might have been. I don't know. Anyways, I put somebody that has to be able to take this role and really go from the Jedi Master or the Padawan to Darth Vader, obviously. One of the most tragic stories in Star Wars, while also kind of being one of the most important, with the transition of Anakin into Darth Vader. You have to cast somebody who can take that and make the good side turn into that evil character of Darth Vader. And I think this actor that I put as Anakin is perfect at doing that. I think he would be able to do that well. And I put Will Poulter. That's just for me, like that. I can see him doing that and being successful at making Anakin what he's supposed to be. And then of course later on when he turns to the dark side after the Clone Wars, I think Will Poulter can pull that off. Next is another kind of not really important, but still somewhat important. The nephew of Captain Panaka, Padme's head of security, and that's Captain Typho. So I cast Djimon Hounsou as Captain Panaka in The Phantom Menace, and I went with Terrence Howard here for Captain Typho. I think just because it's not really a prominent character, but still kind of important, I think he could do good with that without having to be, too serious or too kind of involved in any way. Not that he couldn't handle another role. I just think Terrence Howard would be good at playing Captain Typho. Next, we have to cast the newest kind of bounty hunter, kind of antagonist in this movie, under Jango Fett, of course, and that's Zam Wesell. So I put Florence Pugh. I think she could pull it off. She's, we've seen what she can do playing Yelena Belova in the MCU. I think she'd be good at playing Zam Wesell. That kind of bounty hunting character that also in the end ends up sort of, even to the death, not really turning on who hired her, sort of. but also bringing that character to life. I think she would do good. So Florence Pugh as Zam Wessel. So next I have the two Kaminoans, the cloners. So I have Taun We and Lama Su. Obviously, Lama Su, the Prime Minister of Kamino, is a male. I cast David Thewlis, aka Remus Lupin in Harry Potter, as Lama Su, and I put Meryl Streep as Taun We. I just think it's just, they just have to voice these characters, and they are both phenomenal actors. I just think putting somebody like Meryl Streep actually on screen would take away from kind of everybody else in the movie, because she is such a big actor, that I think a voiceover role for her for this would be the better choice if you were going to cast Meryl Streep in Star Wars. So having her, bring a character like Taun We to life, to where she's not really as involved, and it won't distract people from the rest of the characters and the rest of the actors. I know the majority of these people are big named actors, but I just think Meryl Streep is that name that like everybody recognizes. So keeping her kind of off screen, I think, as Taun We, I think she could deliver that dialogue pretty well. And then Lama Su, obviously, I said David Thewlis. He has that unique voice, and I think it would benefit to do a voiceover rather than being on screen for him. Alright, and then I started kind of going into some of the Jedi Masters that we see first in this, that don't become prominent until the Clone Wars, but we see them during the Battle of Geonosis, or earlier on in the movie, but most of them later on during the Battle of Geonosis. And so the first one I want to recast is Luminara Unduli. I put Zoe Saldana as Luminara. I think she would be good at pulling that off, as that kind of Jedi Master who's, we find out later on in the Clone Wars that she's strict towards Barriss Offee, her Padawan, but also knows what needs to be done, and she's still kind and caring towards everyone else. And I think Zoe Saldana would do amazing at that. Another the Jedi Master that I want to cast now is Shaak Ti. Again, not really prominent until later on in the Clone Wars, and then dies in Revenge of the Sith. Shaak Ti, I put Tilda Swinton. Again, one of those strict Jedi Masters that still cares about her clone troopers and has that kind of loving, caring personality when needs to be, but strict and serious, and a good commander for the Jedi and the clone armies during the Clone Wars. Another Jedi that we see here is Aayla Secura. Again, not really prominent until the Clone Wars, when you get to learn more about these characters. And she's a great warrior, a great battle leader, for who she is. We see what she can do in battle and how good of a Jedi she is. So I cast Angelina Jolie as Aayla Secura. Another one we see that's not really, he is kind of already seen earlier on in Attack of the Clones, and then again in Revenge of the Sith, and somewhat brought up again in the Clone Wars, not as much as some of the other ones, but that's Ki-Adi-Mundi, or Ki-Adi-Mundi, however you want to say his name. I cast Tom Hanks, and I think just the way he talks in Revenge of the Sith, when he says, "What about the droid attacking the Wookiees?" I think Tom Hanks could do that. I think when I hear it in my head, like when I'm recasting, I just, for whatever reason, I hear Tom Hanks in that role, and to see him on screen as a Jedi Master, I think would be really cool. Another one, and for some reason, one of my favorite Jedi. I don't know why. I really don't. This dude's just really cool, and it's unfortunate that he dies so easily in Revenge of the Sith. And that's Kit Fisto. I think he's everybody's favorite, and I don't think anybody really knows why. I put Orlando Bloom as Kit Fisto, just because if you watch the Clone Wars, the kind of like fighting style that he has, it's more of that kind of like parkour type of thing. You know, he does a lot of flips and a lot of manipulation with the Force to distract his enemies, while still being fair. You know, obviously he's not going to kill somebody who's unarmed or anything. And he's serious, and he's a good master towards Nadar Veb, who unfortunately dies at the hands of Grievous in the Clone Wars. And the reason I did Orlando Bloom, you know, we saw what he did as Legolas. Obviously, I don't think it was him doing all the stunts, but Legolas was that same kind of character. You know, he did a lot of running and jumping and flipping and doing all this fighting and stuff. And even in Pirates of the Caribbean, he does a lot of fighting and stuff. So Orlando Bloom as Kit Fisto. Another one at the cast is Plo Koon. Again, that kind of deeper voice, while, you know, still being the Jedi Master that he needs to be, but he has a deep voice that he's able to use to kind of show people that he's serious. I mean, that's his normal voice. He's not just putting on a voice, but like it shows people that he's serious about what he's doing, and that he should be taken serious, while also still being able to be very, you know, kind and caring towards his troopers and everyone around him. A friend to Ahsoka Tano. He's actually the one that found her and brought her to the Jedi Temple. So I went with Liev Schreiber for Plo Koon, and I think he could pull off that character, and he has that voice, you know, that kind of deeper, raspier voice. I think that would be perfect for Plo Koon. Okay, and then another kind of Jedi that I wanted to cast that's really not important necessarily, but is still an important character, if that makes sense. Again, a lot more important in the comics definitely than the Clone Wars or the movies, but still a lot more screen time in the Clone Wars. And that's Jocasta Nu, the librarian in Attack of the Clones, and you know, she takes care of the Jedi archives and things. And she has to be strict and serious about the policies, otherwise anybody could just end up in the library, and you know, taking the Jedi texts or whatever. So she has to be able to defend the library, and she does in the Darth Vader comics especially. She has an important role getting some of the younglings out of the Jedi Temple during Order 66 and things, but she's not really utilized to her full extent in the movies or even in the Clone Wars. There is a kind of fight scene, but it's really somebody impersonating her, so it's not even really her. But anyway, so I put Imelda Staunton as Jocasta Nu, and she played Dolores Umbridge in Harry Potter. I just think she'd be fun to get, you know, she's that kind of mean teacher in Harry Potter that nobody likes anyways. So she's kind of like stern and strict, and then you know, you compare her to Jocasta Nu, who has to do it to protect the library and stuff, whereas Umbridge was just a scumbag. But I think it would be kind of cool to see Imelda Staunton as Jocasta Nu. Next is a very important character, and becomes more important in the Clone Wars and later on down the line. And that is, of course, the adoptive father of Princess Leia, Senator Bail Organa. You need somebody that can persuade, and also be that kind of friendly, compassionate, kind and caring person that they need to be when they need to be, but also know their job, know how to do it, and stick up for what's right in the Senate. And so I went with Michael Douglas as this character. I don't know, I just kind of picture him as that senator that everybody looks up to, you know. I can kind of see him being Bail Organa and being that person that delivers these amazing speeches to persuade people to join the rebellion and fight against the Empire, or at this point, just fight against the Separatists. but it becomes more prominent later on. And speaking of adoptive kind of parents, I went with the adoptive parents of Luke Skywalker, being his aunt and uncle, Owen and Beru Lars. So for Owen Lars, I went with Matt Damon. Owen has a little bit more of a kind of prominent role where you can kind of see what he's made of in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I think he'd be fun as Owen Lars. And then, of course, his girlfriend turned wife, Beru. I went with Anna Paquin. She's an amazing actress. She was Rogue in the X-Men movies. She won an Academy Award. So I cast her as Beru Lars. I think she would be able to pull that off. It's kind of that motherly figure, while also still being able to defend herself, at least during her younger years. In the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, we see her and Owen have to fight against the Inquisitors and stuff before Obi-Wan gets there. So I went with Anna Paquin as Beru Lars. And then speaking of the Lars family, I went with Owen's father, Cliegg Lars, and I cast John Goodman in this role. I think just having that kind of mentor-like voice without truly being the mentor, I think John Goodman would be really good in that role. So next I have, of course, the main antagonist, the new apprentice to Emperor Palpatine, or Chancellor Palpatine at this point. That being, of course, Count Dooku. You need somebody that can play a serious villain, while also still somewhat trying to help the good guys in a way, but really just overall hates the Jedi. So I went with Mel Gibson. If you didn't watch the Continental, the series on Peacock or Netflix or whatever it was, based off the John Wick movies, how Winston got the Continental Hotel. Mel Gibson plays the villain in that, and he does really good at playing the villain. So I think he'd be really good as Count Dooku, because he has that range of playing a villain. I think he could bring Count Dooku to life. And then, of course, you have to cast Jango Fett and the clones, because it would probably be the same person, at least for now. It would have to be the same actor playing all of them. And I needed somebody that could do multiple voices, play multiple characters that are talking to each other, talking, in somewhat different voices, but still also sounding the same as the original version. So I cast James McAvoy as Jango Fett and all the clones throughout the rest of the series. He would, in Split, he played 10, 12 different people, and did an amazing job at doing that. I think he could pull that off, doing the different voices for the clones, bringing them to life, giving them all their own personality while still making them all sound the same. I think James McAvoy would do really great. And then another special little cameo type of thing here, when Obi-Wan Kenobi goes into the bar and the man asks him if he wants to buy some death sticks. That man is Alonso Sabagno. I think it would be fun just to have, because it is just a one-off cameo. I think a comedian kind of like Adam Sandler would be great in that role. So I cast Adam Sandler as Alonso Sabagno. Again, it's just a one-off, it's a cameo, it's supposed to be somebody funny, because that's kind of what the role is. And I think just putting him there would just be a real fun thing, and he gets to be in Star Wars, So I think just for fun, Adam Sandler as Alonso Sabagno. So anyways, guys, there you go. That's all I have for my recasting of Attack of the Clones. Stay tuned for the rest of these recastings. If I missed anybody of importance, or somebody that appears here that might be prominent later on, leave in the comments who it should have been, and I can tell you later on who I should have cast. And then give me your thoughts on who you would have put in these different roles as these different characters, or if there's anybody that you agree that should play them that I mentioned here. Leave that in the comments too. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out what else we got going on that channel, and if you didn't already, go check out my Phantom Menace recasting. These are really fun to do, so I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. So anyways guys, thank you for watching the video, and may the Force be with you.